Okay, so today I just want to talk quickly about a topic that I think it's very important. It's something that I have thought about for a long time, and it's something that I use very often. And I feel that it's a very powerful tool when dealing with a lot of different situations in life. And that's the difference and the application of or between logic and emotions. So logical decisions, logical planning, and emotional decisions or emotional planning, or even the listening or the paying attention to of each of those things. So I think a good place to start would be to use a situation to highlight the difference between our emotional side and our rational side. I think I should say everyone has an emotional side. We definitely know that. We all have emotions, and they definitely drive us and lead us to do and say different things. I'd hope that we all do have a rational side, but I guess maybe there's a couple of people out there that don't. But we'll stick to the majority for this one. So I think a good example is maybe road rage or a situation that happens on the road. It's something that I think a lot of people find themselves in a situation like that, where it can be very frustrating or whatnot if someone cuts you off. And the difference between a logical thought pattern and an emotional one would simply be that feeling when someone does something that really bugs you on the road, and you just want to lash out and yell something, beep the horn, put the finger up, or whatever it may be, is obviously an emotional one. It's probably based on some feelings that you've been experiencing, some different things that have been going on in your life lately, and this person really brings that anger out of you. Whereas a logical thought pattern in that situation would be to say, who cares? I'm on a road. I'm still going to get to where I'm going. That little microsecond that this person cost me really isn't going to mean anything at the end of the day. So what I'm trying to point out here is something that I feel very strongly about. It's something that I try and keep in check and I try and control within myself all the time. I feel that I gain a lot of strength from that, and I make a lot better decisions, and I handle my life in a much better way when I'm doing things like this. But the point is that when we're approached with these two conflicting thoughts or these two conflicting ideas, I feel very strongly that the logical side of mine, the rational side, has a much better perspective on any given situation. It's kind of like a bird's eye perspective, and it's very calculated and calm. And I definitely feel, and I'm sure that a lot of people out there can agree, that that is always the best way to approach any situation or any difficult task that you have in front of you. Whereas the emotional side, the emotions in us that come from kind of in here, not up here, they definitely feel much more erratic and irrational and very spur of the moment. So I think that's the point I'm trying to make here, and I'll highlight that with maybe a very important situation I feel that a lot of people are faced with, almost everyone, and it's a pretty good one that people can relate to when talking about this comparison between logical and emotional. And that's in relationships. So obviously there's great relationships, everything's working fine, and people get together, they find their perfect match, and live happily ever after. But we definitely all know those people out there having different varying levels of relationship troubles. So whether it's just that these two people aren't a good match, or whether it's that these people are actually in very abusive or very just destructive relationships where they're enforcing rules on one another, they're definitely trying to influence each other's actions and the way each other feel, and even sometimes worse than that, trying to directly impact that person in a negative way, whether it be verbally, emotionally, or sometimes in the extreme cases, even physically. But the point about the emotional side and the logical side in relation to this matter, which, as I mentioned, I think it applies to everyone, whether it's something you've experienced or it's something that you definitely know someone who has. And in this situation, people tend to, especially in abusive relationships, it seems even more prevalent, unfortunately, but it's definitely something pretty common, unfortunately, that people say in this situation, oh, well, I love him, it feels right, I feel really good, or I love her, or whatever the case is, even if the other person's abusing you and telling you what to do, and it's just not really a fun situation to be involved in at all. Whereas the logical side of mind, if you are able to be honest with yourself and listen to that and really pay attention, because that there is always going to be that voice in the back of your head, whether you're in that situation, whether you know someone in that situation, but there's going to be that voice in the back of your head saying, this isn't right. This person doesn't match me, whether it's abusive or less severe, but I'm spending my time here, I'm investing my time and my energy, probably my money, and well, the most important one is time, because that's something we cannot get back. So I think it's important to always listen to our logical side of mind, because inside we can love someone. We can really deeply, truly love someone. I'm not talking about family here, even though sometimes it could apply there too. But you can love someone from within, but your mind could actually hate them. And that's something I think it's pretty scary, but I think it's more scary how actually common that is in this world, where you see people together and they don't even appear to even like each other, let alone love each other. But when you talk to that person, hey, look, I think you might need to leave this guy. You might need to leave that girl. Then they're coming out with those, oh no, but I love him. Oh, he's so perfect. I really love him. You can't understand what it's like in here. Well, unfortunately, generally things that you can't understand, or at least things that one can't explain, generally doesn't have too much basis in reality. And that's something you really need to look at, because if it can't be explained and it's just some feeling from within, then how rational is that? How sensible is that feeling? Is that something that's actually doing your life benefit? Generally not. It can be judged on a case by case basis, but that's generally the way it goes. And that's pretty much what I wanted to get across today. It's a very you could say intense scenario. There's definitely places where this comparison applies all throughout life, and this also might seem very, very basic to some people. And I'm sorry if it's boring, but I see more and more people getting lost in this little trap between the emotions and the logical, and listening to far too much to the emotional side. So I just wanted to make a video on that and just kind of point it out there. And hopefully it could enlighten a couple of people.